Alrighty, hi everybody. Welcome back to my channel here. A little bit different format for this week. Apologize for being a day late. Had a couple of things pop up. What we're going to start with today, though, is we're going to start with the ECHL's Fighting Majors on the season, as well as penalty shots, and then we're going to have subsequent videos where we go over each individual division, what all the teams in those divisions did last week, and then we're also going to go over what the playoff picture looks like for all of those teams as well. We're going to have separate videos. We're going to start with the Central Division in the ECHL, then we're going to move on to the North Division, and then the South, and then we're going to wrap up with the Mountain Division. And then after that, we're going to have a couple more videos in terms of just going over specific stats for the Indy Fuel, since that is the team that I keep track of their statistics for the most. And then we're also going to have a little bit of a recap of what's going on with the Fuel, what happened with the Fuel last week, and their week coming up. And then at the end of that video as well, or actually it's going to be at the end of the Mountain Division video, I'm going to just, after that one, I'm going to have a quick little look at what's going on in the ECHL for this upcoming week. So let's go ahead and jump in and get started. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go over once again what the rules are in terms of, pardon me, fighting majors for the season. For each individual player in the ECHL, you have up to 10 fights. When you do receive that 10th fighting major that counts towards the total, you do receive a 1-game suspension. And then from fights 11 through 13, so 11, 12, and 13, it is a 1-game suspension. So 10, 11, 12, and 13, excuse me, is a 1-game suspension. And then from your 14th fighting major on, you do receive a 2-game suspension for every fight following that on the season. If your opponent in the fight does receive an instigating minor, that means that that fight does not count towards your fighting total on the season. Just to go over pretty quickly, we did have 40 games last week in the ECHL. We did have 12 games for the fight, so about 30% of the games across the ECHL had a fight in them last week. Again, I'm not going to sit here and bore you with all of the numbers in terms of going over each individual game. We're just going to focus strictly on the games that did have a fight within them. On Wednesday the 15th, South Carolina and Jacksonville. There was one fight in that game, Ian Mackey and Sean Leonard. Ian Mackey from South Carolina, Sean Leonard from Jacksonville. Mackey did have that count, as well as Leonard. Mackey's second fighting major of the year, and then Leonard with his third. And then Orlando at Idaho was the series that had the most fighting majors on the week. Chris Harper from Orlando got his second fighting major of the year, and then Ryan Domowski of Idaho got his first of the year. The 16th of March just had one game, that was Utah at Allen, no fights in that game. And then on Friday night, we had quite a few games where we had all 28 teams were active that night. We only had 4 games, though, that had a fight, starting with Atlanta at Reading. Tyson Empey got his fourth fighting major of the year, along with William McKinnon of Reading, so Empey from Atlanta. And then McKinnon of Reading got his third fighting major of the year. And then a couple guys got their first fighting majors of the year. Cedric De Rousseau of Wheeling got his first, as well as Stepan Timofeyev of Norfolk also got their first of the year. And then Wichita and Kansas City had 3 separate fights in that game. Austin Crossley of Wichita got his 9th fighting major of the year, and then Josh Elms of Kansas City got his 7th. And again, if I'm mispronouncing any of these names, please let me know down in the comments how to pronounce them. I'm trying my best here. Mark Lewinsky then of Wichita did get into his 8th fight of the year, and Nick Pastajov of Kansas City was in his first fight of the year. And then Xavier Pulot of Wichita with his first fight of the year got into a fight with Jordan Timmons of Kansas City, who got into his second fight of the year. And then 2 more fights in Orlando and Idaho again. Tyler Bird got in his first fight that counted. It was his second fight overall. And then Cody Haskinen got in his first fight of the year for Idaho. And then Jimmy Mazza of Orlando got into his 6th fight of the year. And then Willie Knierim of Idaho got in his 2nd fight of the year. And then on the 18th, we had 13 of the 28 teams were active that day. And 2, 3, and again, 4 games with a fight. Excuse me. On Saturday, I believe I just said it was Sunday, it was Saturday the 18th. Started with Logan Drevich of Savannah with his fourth fight of the year, and then Ian Mackey of South Carolina got in his third fight of the year. And then Greenville and Jacksonville, we had another fight. Justin Nachbauer leads the league in fighting majors, got his 12th fighting major of the year. He has already been suspended. He will miss Greenville's game Friday in Indy for receiving his 12th fighting major of the year. He got into a fight with Mackenzie Dwyer of Jacksonville, who got into his second fight of the year. And then Fort Wayne and Indy also had a fight. Fort Wayne's Tristan Pelletier got into his third fight of the year. And then Colin Bielek from Indy got into his first fight of the year. And then Orlando and Idaho, again, we had a fight in that game with Luke Boca of Orlando getting his third fight of the year. And Justin Miziak of Idaho got in his first fight. And then Jacksonville and South Carolina, we had another fight in that game. That was on Sunday, the 19th. Bielek and Boca and Miziak was the last fight on the 18th, and then on the 19th, we had just 7 games that day. Brandon Yeamans of Jacksonville got in his 6th fight of the year, and he did get an instigating minor, so therefore Justin Florek still has not gotten any fights that count towards his fighting majors. That was his first fight of the year. And then Tulsa and Rapid City, we did see a couple fights in that game with Cameron Suprika of Tulsa getting his first fight of the year. He got into it with Tyson Helgeson of Rapid City, who did receive his 7th fighting major of the year. And then Michael Farron of Tulsa, also with his first fighting major of the year, got into a fight with former Tulsa player Jimmy Soper of Rapid City, who did receive his 4th fighting major on the year. So with that being said, we will also go over here the 28 teams and how they look in terms of where they are in terms of their fighting majors for the year. Leading the league in fights, we have Orlando with 40 fighting majors. Greenville second in the league with 33. And what's funny about Greenville having those 33 is most of those are Justin Nachbauer's 12. So without him, they would have 21, which would be way down the list. 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22 would be the 21st most. But anyways, Fort Wayne is third in the league with 31 fights, and then tied for fourth we have Florida, Atlanta, and Wichita with 30 fighting majors on the year. And then tied for 7th place, we have Iowa and South Carolina, both with 29 fights on the year. In 9th place, we have Savannah with 28 fighting majors. In 10th place, we have Reading with 27 fights on the year. Talgavia in 11th with 26. In 12th, we have Kansas City with 25. And tied for 13th, we have Utah, Wheeling, Allen, Jacksonville, and Idaho. And then in 18th, we have Indy and Rapid City. In 20th, we have Kansas City. In 21st, we have Kalamazoo, In 22nd is Toledo. Tied for 23rd are Maine, Newfoundland, Adirondack, and Tulsa. And then in 27th is Norfolk. And then rounding out the 28 teams is Worcester with 13 fighting majors. There have been 681 fighting majors so far this year. Did have a penalty shot over the weekend. Tulsa and Rapid City did have one, with Tulsa's Tyler Polson scoring on Daniil Chekalev from Rapid City at 5:53 of the second period. It was just the 6th successful penalty shot this year. Tulsa, the only team in the ECHL so far this year that has been successful on both penalty shots that they have taken. There is no team that has taken more than 2. But again, as I mentioned, Tulsa, the only one that has been successful both times. Eddie Matsushima also scored on Mitchell Weeks of Indy back when the Fuel were visiting the Oilers. So again, that's what it looks like in terms of fighting majors for the season. Justin Nachbauer leading the way with 12. The only other player, we got a couple other players that are getting close. Austin Crossley of Wichita with 9. So again, he will be suspended if he gets into one more fight. Nico Blackman, currently with Norfolk, also has 10 fighting majors. So he will be suspended if he gets into another fight. But other than that, there are no other players in the league right now with even 9 fights. So it's Blackman, Nachbauer leading the way, and then Austin Crossley of Wichita with 9. And then the next highest on that is Mark Lewinsky of Wichita with 8. and those are the highest guys with fighting majors on the year. So again, Lewinsky has 2 more, but if Crossley gets into 1 more fight, he will be suspended for 1 game for getting his 10th fighting major of the year. So that is our ECHL's fighting majors for the year. Stay tuned, folks, for the look at the Central Division for last week, and we'll let you know what's coming up for this week as well. Thanks for tuning in.